Here's something Lowe's doesn't advertise openly. Every year, Americans spend billions at home improvement stores, and a massive chunk of that becomes returns, overstock, and discontinued inventory. Now, you're probably thinking those items get inspected, repackaged, and put back on shelves at regular prices, right? Not exactly. What actually happens to returned power tools, unsold seasonal equipment, and clearance inventory is way more interesting than anyone's telling you. And if you know where to look, you can score professional grade tools and supplies for prices that seem impossible. Stick around, because I'm about to expose the entire clearance and liquidation pipeline that home improvement stores keep quiet. Let's start with what happens the second an item hits the returns desk. Most people think there's some careful inspection process. Maybe someone tests everything, verifies all parts, and back to retail it goes. Nope. Here's the reality. That returns desk employee has maybe a minute or two to make a decision. Box intact, looks complete, no obvious damage. It's getting tagged for the clearance section. Missing parts, damaged packaging, or clearly used? That's going somewhere completely different. But here's where it gets interesting. Lowe's typically can't sell returned items as new once they've left the store. So they mark them down and hope someone grabs them quick. If they sit there too long, that's when things get really interesting. Most returned items follow one of four paths, and only one keeps the product at Lowe's. Path 1 is the clearance end cap. You know those sections at the end of aisles with yellow markdown stickers and dented boxes? That's Return Central. Tools and equipment there typically get discounted to move them fast. Nothing crazy at first, but enough that smart shoppers check daily. Professional contractors and renovation flippers hit these spots every morning before stores get busy. They know the restocking schedules and markdown timing. Path 2 is more interesting. Lowe's has tool rental programs at many locations, and when rental equipment reaches the end of its service, life after extensive use, it gets liquidated. We're talking heavy-duty gear that's been through hundreds of customers but still works. Think pressure washers and floor sanders selling for fractions of new prices. These aren't hiding in clearance aisles, though. You've got to ask specifically about rental returns at the tool rental desk. Path 3 is where things get spicy. Lowe's has partnerships with liquidation companies. These companies buy returned and overstock merchandise by the pallet, not individually, entire pallets. And here's the thing. They don't inspect anything beforehand. Lowe's just offers pallets of mixed returns and overstock, sold as is. The liquidation company buys them for a fraction of retail value, then resells those pallets to the public. You can literally buy a pallet of returned tools and home improvement supplies. Some pallets are mostly junk, sure, but people regularly score working items worth thousands for a few $100s. It's basically the retail lottery, and most people don't even know this market exists. Path 4 might blow your mind. Lots of returned items end up at discount chains that specialize in buying customer returns and overstock from major retailers. That cordless drill someone returned because they bought the wrong battery platform. It's sitting in a discount store somewhere marked way down. The paint sprayer with a missing tip that costs minimal money to replace. Someone just bought it cheap and ordered the replacement part online. When you understand this system, traditional sales start looking weak. But let's talk about the elephant in the workshop. Are these returned items actually worth buying? Here's what retail workers won't tell you. Most returns aren't because something broke. People return items for ridiculous reasons, bought the wrong size, didn't realize assembly required, changed their mind about the project, decided they didn't need it after all. Industry insiders say the vast majority of returns are buyer's remorse or user error, not defects. which means most returned items work perfectly fine. They're just cosmetically imperfect or missing some non-essential accessory. Smart buyers know this and specifically hunt for these deals. Now, here's where you need to pay attention because this separates people who score amazing deals from those who end up with problems. When looking at return tools, especially at liquidation sales or discount chains, there are 3 things you must check. First, the serial number. If it's been scratched off or covered with a sticker, walk away. That item was likely stolen or returned fraudulently. Legitimate returns keep serial numbers intact. Second, moving parts on power tools. Look for excessive wear, unusual sounds when you test trigger action, or loose components. These indicate heavy use or abuse. Third, check for complete hardware. Missing screws, guards, or adjustment knobs might seem minor, but replacement parts can be expensive or hard to find. Here's a move most people miss. Lowe's return policy is generous, typically allowing returns within a substantial period on most items. So when you buy a returned tool from the clearance section, you're often still covered by store policy. Buy it, test it thoroughly at home, and if anything seems off, return it. Worst case, you're out the time it took to test it. Best case, you just scored an expensive tool at a deep discount that works flawlessly. The system protects you, even when buying returned merchandise. Let's talk about timing, because this matters more than most people realize. Lowe's processes returns differently depending on season. January and February, right after Christmas, the return desk gets slammed. Everyone's bringing back gifts they didn't want or duplicate items from relatives. This is when clearance sections overflow with barely touched equipment. Contractors know this and schedule shopping for late January specifically. March through May is spring project season, which means tons of weekend warriors buying tools they'll use once. June and July bring returns from failed summer projects. September through November, people clear out garages and return stuff bought but never opened. If you're shopping for returned items, late January, mid-July, and October are typically the sweet spots when selection peaks. But here's something even better than timing seasons. Lowe's locations in wealthy suburbs tend to have higher return rates than urban stores. Why? Because people with disposable income are more likely to impulse buy expensive equipment and return it when project motivation fades. Stores in affluent areas often have clearance sections that look incredible. Meanwhile, stores in working-class neighborhoods move clearance items faster because locals know value. The secret is shopping at wealthy area stores during weekday mornings when contractors aren't around yet. You'll have first pick of returns from people who bought expensive equipment, used it briefly, and decided the hobby wasn't for them. Now, let's get into the liquidation pallet game because this is where regular people can access wholesale pricing without owning a business. Websites that specialize in liquidation sell major retailer return pallets. Here's how it works. You create an account, browse available pallets, and either buy direct or bid auction style. The listings give you retail value estimates and descriptions like mixed hardware, customer returns, untested. You pay based on pallet size and estimated contents. Then you either pick it up at a warehouse or pay for freight shipping. Sounds risky, right? It absolutely can be, but people who do this regularly have systems. Smart pallet buyers focus on seasonal timing and manifests. Some liquidation companies provide detailed manifests listing every item. Others just give broad categories and piece counts. Detailed manifest pallets cost more, but you know what you're getting. Blind pallets are cheaper and riskier, but when you win big. People who buy pallets regularly follow a simple rule. If they can resell or use a majority of contents, it's profitable. Stories abound of people buying pallets that included high-value items worth more than the entire pallet cost. Everything else becomes pure profit. They sell duplicates on Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp, keep what they need, and clear significant profits. That's better than most side hustles, and it just requires opening boxes and posting photos online. But here's the part that'll change how you think about shopping forever. You don't need to buy entire pallets or hunt through clearance aisles every day. There's a simpler approach most people ignore. Lowe's has a loyalty program that anyone can join. Once enrolled, you get access to exclusive pricing on select items and early notification of sales. Some users report getting alerts when stores near them mark down returned merchandise. It's like having someone feeding you deals in real time. Combine program notifications with solid understanding of retail prices, and you're shopping with advantages. Here's an example. Cordless tool combo kits retail at various price points depending on included tools. During major sales, they drop somewhat, but a returned kit missing a battery and charger in clearance, significantly cheaper. You buy it, go online, and purchase compatible batteries and a charger separately. Your total investment is still well below retail for a complete new kit, and because it's from clearance, you've still got return protection if anything seems wrong. Here's another angle most people sleep on. Lowe's tool rental returns. Remember I mentioned these earlier? Let's dive deeper. Every Lowe's with tool rental eventually retires inventory. These aren't consumer-grade tools that failed quickly. These are heavy-duty models built to survive rental abuse. When equipment has been rented extensively and still works but looks cosmetically worn, Lowe's retires it. They can't keep renting it because customers expect pristine equipment, so they sell it, usually at substantial discounts. The catch is you have to actively ask about available rental returns. Most employees won't volunteer this information. But if you walk up to the tool rental desk and ask about retired rental equipment for sale, they'll check the system. Now let's address the biggest concern about buying returned items. Warranties. Most manufacturer warranties tie to original purchase date and proof of purchase. So if someone bought an item, used it briefly, then returned it, technically the manufacturer's warranty clock already started. When you buy that returned item from clearance, you're getting whatever time remains. For something returned quickly, that's basically full warranty coverage. For items that have been in the system longer, you might have reduced coverage. But store return policies often supersede manufacturer warranties initially. So even on a returned item, you've got protection if you keep your receipt. There's also a psychological element to buying returned items nobody discusses. When you buy new tools at full retail, you baby them. You're terrified of scratching the paint or getting dust inside. But when you buy a tool that already has some dings and scratches, you actually use it how it's meant to be used. You're not afraid to drop it in the dirt or toss it in the truck bed. Ironically, returned tools often get used harder and more effectively because there's no precious new tool anxiety holding you back. Let me tell you about something that happened recently that perfectly illustrates why this matters. Someone I know needed a miter saw for a deck project. They were about to spend serious money on a new compound sliding saw. I suggested waiting a week and checking clearance sections at different Lowe's locations nearby. Within days, they found a returned miter saw marked down substantially because someone claimed the laser guide wasn't working. They bought it, brought it home, and discovered the laser just needed a battery replacement, described in the manual. Significant savings on a saw that retailed much higher. They used it for the entire deck project, then sold it used for more than they paid. That's the power of understanding this system. Here's the final piece that ties everything together. Most people approach tool buying emotionally. They see shiny new tools and want them because buying new feels good. It's psychological retail therapy. But smart buyers separate emotion from economics. They understand tools are meant to be used, abused, and eventually replaced. Whether you pay full retail or clearance prices, that drill will get dusty, scratched, and worn. The only difference is how much money you spent to achieve the same outcome. When you flip that mental switch and start viewing tools as consumable assets rather than precious purchases, the entire return merchandise market makes perfect sense. So here's your action plan. First, look into Lowe's loyalty program. It can provide access to notifications and exclusive pricing. Second, identify Lowe's locations nearest you and visit them on different days. Check their clearance end caps and ask about rental returns. Third, browse liquidation websites and familiarize yourself with how pallet sales work. Fourth, set up alerts on Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp for tool categories you're interested in. Lots of liquidation buyers resell locally at prices still below retail. Fifth, stop buying tools on impulse. Make a list of what you actually need. Then hunt for deals on specific items. The home improvement industry wants you believing new equals better, and retail prices are always fair. But when you understand what happens behind the scenes with returns, liquidations, and rental retirements, you realize there's an entire parallel market most people ignore. Every single day, perfectly functional tools get marked down and redistributed at fractions of original cost. Not because they're broken, but because retail systems demand inventory turnover. Smart buyers who tap into this system build workshops full of professional equipment without professional price tags. And let's talk about specific strategies that separate casual shoppers from people who consistently score incredible deals. First, understand that clearance pricing isn't random. Major retailers follow markdown schedules designed to move inventory within specific time frames. When something doesn't sell at initial discount, it gets marked down further. The key is identifying items that have been sitting in clearance for a while. Take photos with your phone of clearance items and their prices. Check back weekly. When you see the same tool with a new, lower price sticker, you know the markdown cycle is progressing. Second, build relationships with employees in the tool department and at the rental desk. Just be friendly and ask good questions. Employees who work these departments for years develop encyclopedic knowledge of what comes and goes. They know which tools get returned most often and why. They know when rental equipment typically gets retired. A simple conversation about what you're looking for can lead to them mentioning when new rental returns just hit the system. Third, expand your geographic range. Most people shop at the closest store and call it done. But if you've got 3 or 4 locations within reasonable driving distance, you're multiplying your opportunities. Each store processes returns independently. Each has different customer demographics affecting return rates. By rotating through multiple locations on a regular schedule, you're checking multiple clearance sections. More stores equals more opportunities. Fourth, understand the seasonal inventory cycle beyond just returns. Lowe's brings in seasonal items aggressively. Lawn equipment in spring, outdoor power equipment in summer, snow removal in fall, generators before storm season. When these seasons end, anything that didn't sell needs to go. This creates predictable clearance waves. Late spring for unsold lawn equipment. Late summer for outdoor power washers. If you can wait and buy seasonal items at the end of their season, you're buying at maximum discount. Fifth, learn to spot repackaged returns versus actual defective items. A repackaged return typically has all major components present, maybe some cosmetic wear, and functions normally. It just couldn't be sold as new anymore due to opened packaging. A defective return shows clear signs of actual problems: unusual wear patterns, visible damage beyond normal use, missing critical components. The difference matters because repackaged returns are essentially new items at discount prices. Sixth, don't overlook combo kits with missing pieces. Someone returns a combo kit because they lost the charger, or they kept one tool from a multi-tool kit and returned the rest. These incomplete kits get marked down substantially because most shoppers want complete packages. But if you're building a collection of the same battery platform, you probably already have chargers. You're paying for the tool itself and getting it at a massive discount. Seventh, master the art of the polite inquiry. When you find a clearance item that interests you, but the price still seems high, you can sometimes negotiate further. Not aggressively, but conversationally. Ask the department manager if this is the final markdown, or if it might go lower. Sometimes they'll check the system and tell you another markdown is scheduled. 8. Understand that returned items create opportunities beyond just buying them directly. The entire ecosystem around returns generates value. Liquidation buyers need to move inventory quickly, so they price aggressively on local marketplaces. People who bought blind pallets often have items they don't need and will sell them cheap just to recoup pallet costs. By monitoring local selling platforms daily, you tap into this secondary market where returned items circulate at various price points, all below retail. The psychology of retail is designed to make you spend more on new products. Everything from store layouts to lighting to marketing creates urgency around buying new at full price. But when you step outside that system and start viewing returned items as opportunities rather than damaged goods, you gain massive advantages. You're no longer competing with everyone fighting over newest releases. You're operating in a different market entirely, one where patience and knowledge trump impulsive purchasing. Most shoppers will never figure this out. They'll keep paying full price and feeling good about sale discounts. Meanwhile, you're building a professional workshop at a fraction of what they're spending.